Alright, you are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. Alright, I'm just going to quickly wrap up last night's episode. I finished watching the second part of Leaving Neverland, and my final conclusion is, if you're an adult male and you want to sleep with children, you're a fucking pedophile. You're not fucking Peter Pan. You're not doing it because you lost your childhood. You're doing it to get some kid dick. And it was only boys too. He wasn't interested in Rob Wade's sister at all. Both the parents of those two guys basically fed their kids to the sharks and then turned a blind eye to it. There is no other conclusion you can make to that. Both parents were 100% complicit in the abuse of their children. There's no other way you can cut it. You let your fucking kids, your 7-year-old and your 10-year-old kid, sleep in the fucking same bed, unsupervised, as an adult male. What the fuck do you think is going to happen? Honestly, you take away Michael Jackson's power, his money, his fame, his influence, his ranch, and then think about the story. Think about Michael Jackson without any of that shit. He comes up to you in the street and he's like, "Hey, do you want to come back to my studio apartment? I want to share a bed with your special little boy. I'm like Peter Pan and your special little boy is like my Tinkerbell." You would call the fucking police just for him approaching you. But you throw a little bit of fame into that scenario, a little bit of money, a lot of power, then you can start making up some excuses, can't you? Look, Michael Jackson, he's got all this money. He's a special individual. He's an exceptional human being. He never had a childhood. That's why he likes to sleep with my son, because he doesn't have a childhood. Now, I ordered lobster. Is that going to be long? I really don't like waiting for my lobster. Yeah, they're fucked, those parents. They knew what was going down. Fuck up if you didn't. And finally, the coolest person in that fucking whole film was the Australian guy's brother. The fucking Aussie. He was the only sane one in the whole fucking thing. He's like, what the fuck is going on? You're breaking up the family, you're letting him sleep in the thing, dad's committing suicide. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, not good, but anyway. You know what today is? It's a little segment I like to call Informed, Uninformed, Conspiracy Theory. Which one is it going to be this week? Every Wednesday now feels like I'm back at school and I've got to do a test and I just haven't studied at all in any way, shape or form. And I'm thinking, how the fuck am I going to get through this test? Wednesdays feel like work to me. And I haven't even read up on anything. I haven't even looked into anything. Not a conspiracy theory. I'm certainly not informed on anything. So I'm rolling the dice again on Uninformed. Uninformed's back. Since I said I wasn't going to do just Uninformed, I was going to do Informed and conspiracy theories as well. I haven't done anything but Uninformed. Because the other ones require fractionally more effort than Uninformed. At least Uninformed, I can just choose a topic and then riff on it. The other ones, I have to know some stuff. So the Uninformed this week, it's a topic very close to my heart. I would like to think I know a lot about it. So this week on Uninformed with comedian David Boyle, we are taking a deep dive into communism. What is communism? I'm not entirely sure. I pretended I knew what it was for a very long time during university, but I never really looked into it that much. I bought the Communist Manifesto and I put it on my bookshelf, front and center, but I never actually read any of it. It was more just signaling to people that I'm an intellectual. That's what it was bought for, and that's why it's still there. So I remember during university when I was pretending to be smart, when I really had no idea about the world or life, and I really wasn't smart at all. I really am not smart. But I remember being very attracted to the idea of communism, where everyone basically gets the same thing. An even distribution of the wealth. Well, in theory it's even, but usually the people who are distributing the wealth, they usually take a little bit extra. But I like the idea, because I had nothing. I had fucking zero, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's take from the rich and redistribute the wealth. And what I mean by that is, give me some money for not doing anything. I want something for nothing. Take the money from those filthy rich fucking animals, take some of their blood money and spread it out to the people who deserve it. Me, who hasn't woken up before 3 p.m. in 2 months. Give me some of that goddamn blood money. And when I was younger, I didn't even know how people got rich. I never had any concept that some people were rich because they fucking worked harder. Like they earned their wealth. For the most part, I just thought rich people either got lucky or inherited it. I didn't know anything about sacrificing 25 years of their life, working every day, never going on a holiday, building, risk-taking, managing people, absorbing the highs and the lows. I didn't know anything about this. And to be honest with you, I didn't really care. And to be honest with you, I really still don't care. I would like some of that rich money. Give me some of that rich fucking money. Let's redistribute the wealth. But the problem I see with communism, and when I say communism, I'm not talking about the definition of communism, which I do not know what the definition of communism is. But this part of communism, I think the biggest problem where communism runs into trouble is when you consider everyone's output as one unit. Like everyone is equal. No one is equal. As soon as I stopped pretending to go to university and I started getting out there in the real world, you realize very quickly that the entire country is built on about 4 good workers. I mean, there's 4 hardworking people in the entire country. I would turn up to the coffee shop, hungover, coming down off drugs, no sleep, completely fucking up everyone's coffee, not listening to the boss, stealing from the fridge, taking 2-hour toilet breaks, and just basically being a completely useless cunt. And there was this guy I used to work with in the same place, Ramez, an Egyptian dude, one of the hardest fucking workers I've ever seen. He was there 14 hours a day, every fucking day. And he ran the joint and he cared. Every single coffee he cared about. He had memorized about, I would say, 200 different people's coffees. He was just amazing. And he was on the same amount of money as me. We were earning the same amount. And if you looked at the bottom line of that, he was making that coffee shop the amount of money it would take 4 people. Easily, maybe even 5 people to earn. He was amazing. And if you looked at my bottom line, I was a complete net negative. I stole that much shit from the fridge. I had to remake that many coffees and I hid in the toilet that much that I was basically getting paid for nothing. And that example is a microcosm of communism. That's why it can never work. Because I understood clearly that as long as I was there, I was getting paid. My only incentive to work was not to get fired. There was no other incentive for me to work any harder than I needed to avoid being fired. That's it. And that's why communism just won't work, because you'll end up with too many workers like me. Too many workers going, well, I'm getting this, it's fuck all. Why should I even try? What is the incentive for trying? I certainly don't give a fuck about this job. If I work harder, I'm not getting anything extra. I'm not doing it for the love of the country and nation. I can tell you that right now. Here's the deal. I'll do nothing and you give me nothing. I'll pretend to work and you pretend to pay me. That's what happens in a communist society. That's what will happen if the plebs ever take over the means of production. Nobody realizes that the driving force behind most organizations is 1 or 2 maximum. Insanely hardworking, efficient, competent, capable person. Now, not everyone's like me, but most people are. The majority is. Most people are completely fucking retarded. And that's how the communists should rebrand. They should just say, listen, we're the retarded majority and we're taking over. That's all there is to it. There's more of us. We don't like working. We want some of that money. We're taking over now. This episode of the podcast is another perfect example of why communism won't work. There was no incentive for me to even Google what communism is, the definition. So I didn't. And then I just went on a little bit of a riff, chuck a little bit of an intro at the front, outro at the back, done, dusted, communism, podcast style. Anyway, that's it for tonight. That's been Uninformed with comedian David Boyle, and I'll see you the fuck later.